morning. My name is Hannah. I'm a recent graduate from Community College of Aurora with my Associate of Science. Yay! Thank you. I had the pleasure of working with my mentor, Manuela Mejia. She's in the bathroom right now. As well as Amy Dunbar-Wallace and Peyton Vetter. And we looked at insects and biochar, what's making the impact. I also just want to say it's my birthday, so be nice. And yeah, I wish we had a birthday at the end of this. So we did this project under Boulder Apple Tree Project, and my video's not popping up, but basically Boulder Apple Tree Project seeks to understand the history of apple trees in the Boulder area and overall promote urban forestry. We did have a CBS coverage, not to flex or anything, but at the planting of the orchard, CBS came and covered the event.
Their next research project quite literally grows on trees. The Boulder Apple Tree Project works to find and identify the oldest remaining apple trees in the area and learn more about them. And today, that means planting some. Your reporter in Boulder, Sarah Herbakowitz, takes us to the root of the story.
Apple Tree Project started at CU Boulder years ago and has since spread to campuses across the region. And the goal is to increase student engagement with science, their environment, and sustainability. So they're planting 15 trees here on campus for the first time, with hundreds of students working on this project as it continues into the future.
I think there's a lot of value in understanding that agriculture can be done in cities and urban areas, and that anybody can do it. More broadly, I think what's important for me personally is also the community that this orchard has built and will continue to build in the years to come.
This project was made possible through a sustainable CU grant of more than $90,000. The students work with experts and researchers in the field as they learn how to take care of these plants and about their environment. The students are hoping that these trees will bear fruit in about 3 years. Reporting in Boulder, Sarah Herbakowitz, covering Colorado First.
And once that fruit comes in, the Apple Project says it will be donated to the campus food pantry.
So this leads me to our research question: how are insect populations impacted by the use of biochar and the planting of an orchard? So you're probably wondering, what is biochar? Biochar is a charcoal-based soil amendment. It's known for sequestering atmospheric CO2, and hopefully we want to implement it on a larger scale to kind of mitigate the CO2 and climate crisis that we're seeing. So that's one of the reasons why it's important. Another reason why it's important is because it creates favorable conditions for a wide range of organisms. However, research on its effects on insects are very limited, as well as biodiversity. So speaking of biodiversity, biodiversity refers to the variety of life in a given area. This is important because it provides essential resources and regulates the climate and supports the livelihood of living things overall. However, with the rapid rise of CO2, biodiversity and the planet's biodiversity is at risk due to the alteration of habitats. So why should we care about insects in the grand scheme of all of this? So insects provide vital ecosystem services, such as the examples provided. So pollination is a big one. So think about your ants, your bees, your butterflies, or sorry, not your ants, your bees, your butterflies, and your wasps. And then soil composition as well. So this is where ants come into play. When you see a colony of ants in an anthill or just moving around doing their thing, they are working to aerate and compact the soil, so this is very important. They can also act as pest control. So think about wasps. They can prey on soil pests. So how we went about doing this: in the summer of 2024, we took a pre-survey of the insect diversity on the plot prior to any planting of the trees or native understories. And then throughout fall 2024, we were continuing to prepare the site for the orchard planting. And then May 2025 is that video we just watched of the planting of the orchard. And then end of May, we seeded those native understories. And then here we are in June, July 2025. well, now August, and we're still placing sticky traps as well as pitfall traps. It's important to note that we did use pitfall traps. However, I'll only be sharing an analysis of the sticky traps, as we only had 1 year of pitfall trap data, so there wasn't anything to compare there. So here's a map of, I made it be nice, but here's a map of the plot. Over here is before there's any trees or traps placed or planted. And then over here is after the orchard is planted, and then these yellow things that you see are the sticky traps. So they were placed about 2 to 3 feet in between each tree. So here's some visuals. Figure 1 shows a sticky trap placed. Figure 2 shows some pitfall traps being collected, and as I said, we won't be sharing any analysis of that, but it's still important to have that visual for reference. And then figure 3 is like a trap that we collected after it's been out there for a few days. So I thought it was really cool. We got a butterfly on there, which is rare. So yeah, that was cool. And then figure 4 and 5 are some of the beetles and bugs that we would see on the orchard. This one landed on me and I freaked out, but it was fine because it's pretty. So some of the results that we saw, we did see some statistically significant changes. If you look at the graph here, this is comparing year to year. So one of the most significant changes we saw was in Hemiptera, which is going to be your cicadas and things like that. So they showed an increase in 2025 compared to 2024. We do think this is because of the presence of the trees in itself, and that serves as a food source for them pretty much, and so it makes sense that their populations would increase. One thing that did surprise me was the decrease in Hymenoptera. I do think this is because the native plants weren't fully bloomed yet, but as we see those, come into bloom, I predict that we'll see an increase in Hymenoptera, which are going to be your bees and your wasps. So, what does all this mean? So, to answer my research question, how are insects impacted by the use of biochar? They're impacted significantly. They showed order-specific changes. However, insects are highly sensitive to any changes in their environment. So we're not sure if the changes that we observed are due to the biochar implementation or any other variable that was involved. So multiple variables were involved in the planting of the orchard. So ongoing data collection could determine which variable is most responsible for these changes. In conclusion, insect diversity is vital to the health of our ecosystems, especially in agricultural spaces. They are highly sensitive to any changes that we're going to see in the environment, so it's important to be mindful of any land use that we're doing, especially in agriculture, like scientific ecology research. We do want to keep the populations intact, so that's something to be mindful of. Overall, this research will contribute to understanding roles of insects in urban environments and the understudied impacts of biochar on insect populations. Yes, overall, this will encourage biodiversity and a path for a healthier, more sustainable planet in the future. So yes, thank you.